Hi, it's me again. I am coming back to talk about clarity and my prompt number two in my book, Lighthouse, The Path Through Cancer. If you're not caught up on this, I'm basically just going through the journal prompts at the end of my book, sharing and basically, yeah, just being vulnerable and sharing and inviting you to join me in asking yourself the questions and doing the work. So the second prompt is the quote is clarity doesn't always arrive with calm. Sometimes it storms its way in. First prompt: what truths have emerged through your storms? Second prompt: how does your clarity feel in your body? Hot, sharp, soft, still, describe it. And the affirmation: even when it hurts, I welcome the truth that frees me. And page 200 goes along with the chapter that's on page 6. And for me, when I think of clarity, it was when I was diagnosed and I heard those words. And I just remember being blindsided because that wasn't on my bingo card, that wasn't the plan. Um, and I just remember just basically zoning out because before that moment, my whole life was expansive. There were no limits, there were just nothing but possibilities. And getting the diagnosis, everything comes into sharp, constricted view because there's no longer time. You're forced to face your own mortality and face what you've done and lived thus far. And the reason that is because you just don't know, right? There's no promises, there's no guarantee that they've caught it in time or that anything that they will do will work. There's just all these things, there's just so much that goes on in the mind, especially, just when you're young and you're not expecting it. I think that, you know, it's very hard, So, in that, for me, I wrote, in the quietude of this revelation, questions began to stir, like leaves caught in a soft autumn breeze, each one beckoning me closer to introspection. With the time that has flowed through my hands, what have I built? What beauty, what legacy might I leave to echo in the hearts of those who walk this world after me? Has the ripple of my actions touched the shores of others' lives, leaving traces of kindness, of change, of inspiration? Amid the myriad of deeds and dreams, which of my efforts will stand as monuments to my existence, and which will fade like whispers in the wind? Of the paths yet untrodden, dreams unfulfilled, what waits still for me in the quiet corners of possibility? How have my footsteps nurtured the soil of the communities that cradled me, the environments that whispered life's secrets in my ear? In the tapestry of my life, which threads have I woven out of habit, occupying space without adding to the vibrancy of the whole? Looking forward, how might I align the melody of my actions with the deepest songs of my heart, crafting a life that resonates with purpose and passion? And in the dance of connection, which steps have led me into harmony and which have left me out of step with my soul's own rhythm? And so, as you can see, those are quite deep. questions to ask anyone, let alone to ask yourself. And then to ask yourself when you don't know if your time's up. Because, like I say in the book, I get what I get. There's no bargaining, there's no manifesting, there's no buying time. There's like, when it's it, that's it. So it's quite heavy and quite hard to wrap your brain around it in a lot of ways. But I've had a lot of time to sit and ponder and pontificate on each one of those questions and each part of those questions, because in each of those statements, each of those questions, there lies something even deeper. And a lot of what I like to focus on and what I call the work is diving and really digging in to each of those questions and finding the origin, finding the narrative, uncovering the wound, and just digging in as far as I can go, as far as I can take it, right? In truth and alignment, and uncovering lies, uncovering good deeds, bad deeds, all of the things, because in the end it all matters, because it all creates our life and who and what we are and who and what we think we are, right? With the time that has flowed through my hands, what have I built? That question alone, I could spend a month, 2 months, a year even, really looking at and sifting through my life and my choices. What have I built with the time that I've had, like my 40 years on this earth? What have I built? And I think that I built a lot, considerably, but I don't think I built enough. I don't think that I've done as much as I could, and I don't think that I've accomplished or even come close to accomplishing my mission of why I'm here and, why I got to stay here. Because at stage 3, the size of my tumor, I don't know that I'm supposed to be here, but I am. And I don't take that lightly, and that is why I'm so determined to figure everything out. And the reason why I think this second book came to me and why I was just determined to get it out. The first book made way for the second book. I think that how that came to be was interesting. It was just the right time, the right people, the right place. I had a previous job that afforded me a friendship that this publisher came through. And the first book was very healing for me in that time, but it also laid the foundation for a pipeline for me to get this one. So as I was sitting and writing and journaling and doing my voice notes during chemo, and I mean, this is in the very beginning. So like when I write a book, I just sit down and I start from the top, and sometimes I'm all over the place and I have to, order it later. But this one, I mean, that question like sat with me for days, for a long time. With the time that has flowed through my hands, what have I built, right? And then you can go on the flip side. In the time that has slipped through my hands, what have I destroyed? All of the things. And we have to ask ourselves those questions because we have to do the work. We have to understand. And of course you don't have to, but I believe that if we're given and gifted this time here, that's what we should be doing with it. So what truths have emerged through your storms? What have you learned about yourself through the diagnosis? What have you learned through yourself, through your choices before during, and then after, right? Because those are three distinct things. You know, who I was before cancer, and not even just cancer, I would say before facing my own mortality, because before then, yes, obviously you know you're going to die at some point, but it's not anytime soon, you know? And most certainly not how I thought I'd go if that was my time. So it just begs a lot of questions. You know, what truths have emerged through your storm? You know, I had realized that though I had discovered my childhood wound of my father, and I was able to create and do connect all the dots in my first book and personally, you know, in that relationship and how that relates to all my interrelations romantically, and then how that colors everything, I still needed to sit with some of that and disconnect myself from some people, some places, some things, because I had realized that those things were chosen from the place of survival, from the place of lack, from the place of pick me, from the place of people pleasing. So therefore, it could not survive, nor could I let it in my new life now. Why? Because it doesn't have integrity, and because it was built in not who I am, not who I truly am. The wounded person that is there is not who we are. It's not. So once we dig all that up and clean it out, what's left is just the truth. So I really invite you to dig into that for yourself. And the second prompt, how does your clarity feel in your body? Clarity for me has felt like just peace. You know, the only way I could describe it is when I'm in any ocean. My favorite oceans have been Tulum, Mexico, and Grand Cayman Islands. And they're my favorite because, well, Tulum's not so calm, but my favorite would be Grand Cayman because it's calm and I'm just there and I just float. And I don't actually really float, you know, I'm just there in the water. And I can look out and I can see forever, and the colors are so vibrant, and the water calm, and the sand, I feel myself recharging when I'm in the ocean. And I just feel like I'm a part of something much larger than myself, to the point where I don't even really matter anymore. And for me, that peace, that calm, that joy is what clarity feels like. So anything, anybody that comes into my field and disrupts that, I put my hand up, because that's all I have. That's all that matters, right? Is my peace and my calm. And I've spent more than half of my life not in that peace or calm. You know, I spent more than half my life in survival mode and trying to figure it out and fighting, just fighting to live, fighting to get what I felt that I deserved and what I wanted. And then in the end, or not so much the end, but a moment, you know, you hear the words cancer and you're just like, well, none of that fucking mattered, right? None of it mattered. All the people, places, and things, none of it mattered, because in the end, it's just you and your thoughts and your deeds. That's it. So it's just a lot, you know, when you really sit down and invite it in and just let go. You know, it's not easy, it's not fun, and but in the end, when you get through it, it is good. It does feel good because now I am truly at peace no matter what, you know. I don't have preconceived anything anymore. I know who I am. I know where I stand. I know how I feel. And there's nothing that anyone can do or say otherwise. There's nothing that anyone can do or say to make me act out of who I am and pull me out of alignment unless I allow them to, unless I say I'm fine, I'm going to go there. But I just don't because it's just not even worth it anymore to me. Right? All I want to do is be happy and be in my moments and enjoy it. And it's funny because I spend a lot more time alone, and it's funny because I would like to be in a relationship. I would like to, you know, build and do all of that. But I also love the relationship that I now have with myself and the love that I have for myself and the appreciation that I have for myself and the appreciation that I have for the work, because I also know that not a lot of people do the work, not a lot of people ask questions, you know. Just getting through those first two prompts is a lot. Getting through all of those questions I asked is a lot, because as I said, you could spend a year on each question, you let alone, you know, an afternoon. So thank you for coming down this road with me. I never know what I'm going to talk about. You know, once the cameras start rolling, I try not to prep too much. I know that it was important to me, and the message that I'm receiving or feel from the universe is that I should just talk through my prompts. You know, it makes the most sense, and it's actually, you know, therapeutic still for me and helpful for me, because when I stop filming, I read and then I write some more, and it's just, I am just so thankful to be here and so happy to be able to put this stuff out there. I never know where it's gonna go. Some videos have 0 views, and it's funny because the old me would be like obsessed and be like, well, how or why? And I'm just like, I'm happy doing just this. And if I reach 1 or 2 people, awesome, right? So thanks for tuning in, and I will be making more videos because we got a lot of prompts to get through. But again, it's in my book Lighthouse, The Path Through Cancer. Be well.